Hi guys, welcome to this amazing session. Another session of the Africa UAE Business Summit. Another exciting time. Another exciting session for us to really engage and to see what are those opportunities that are available for us across the border. And these days, it's like it's constantly a conversation that I'm on in almost every space that I'm in. I'm always talking about global expansion. I'm talking about global opportunities that we can take advantage of. Right now, of course, we're talking about that interaction between Africa and the UAE. Now, today in particular, we'll be looking at cultural barriers of entry. Now, you might wonder, what are cultural barriers of entry? I mean, honestly, we are a very privileged generation because we live in a generation where there's almost no barrier of entry. Think about Kodak, okay? When Kodak was Kodak back in the day, they used to run the entire supply chain, okay? So they owned they manufactured the papers, they manufactured the chemicals that made the photos, they manufactured the cameras, absolutely everything. They were the guys who were literally holding the entire supply chain. But now, when the digital camera was created, Kodak literally went under. And so, if you think about it, there's almost no barrier of entry. Any kid on TikTok, if you talk of media houses, think about it. Some 20-year-old kid with TikTok in their bedroom will come up with a platform in a few years that is competing with a media house that's been around for more than 60 years. You get talk of tech, there'll be some young guy somewhere who's just coming up with an amazing platform that just breaks changes the industry forever. So barriers of entry almost don't exist. Talk of event financing, crowdfunding. There's crowdfunding these days. You can literally go online and crowdfund. And also technology has made it very easy to start almost anything and to succeed in it. So when I'm talking of cultural barriers, then what exactly am I talking about? Because there's almost no barrier of entry in any industry. So cultural barriers of entry is not understanding the different culture. And this honestly comes from my experience working with partners from Dubai and UAE who are trying to get into Africa, and also partners from Africa who are trying to get into the UAE. Now, one thing you have to appreciate, culture affects your branding, okay, your messaging, how you, even the relevance of the products, okay? Because let's say, for example, like what example? What example? Um, let's say you're in. Okay, the idea will come. Okay, let's say you're in a particular product. Okay, and the volume that you produce is adequate for Kenya. Any business that you're in, whether you're in avocados, whether you're in coffee, whatever capacity you probably produce in Kenya may be enough for you. But the minute you go to Dubai, you have to understand that's a whole huge market. So you have to literally like quadruple, times 10, whatever you're able to produce. So if your products and your product offering are not relevant to the market, it's not going to work. Okay. And so that's why we have to look. And even last week, I gave you the example of the insurance firm. Mobile money also has been tried, and even just across Africa, from Kenya and South Africa, we have examples of a lot of supermarket chains that have tried one particular, for the respect of brands, one particular supermarket chain tried to break into Kenya, and they didn't get the culture because here the culture here is a bit different. Even the luxury market behaves in a very different way than other places. So even the sales cycle, a lot of real estate companies which are trying to break into Africa and particularly into Kenya really struggle because here the culture here and the corporate culture here is people are very cautious. People want a lot of information before I even buy anything from you. I want to know everything. I want to know all your details, man. I even want to know what you ate for breakfast. Because and the reason for that is trust here is not very easy because we have a lot of mistrust and a lot of systems because of some people have been, had bad experiences here. So trust here is not very easy. So if someone is buying, especially property, they want to ask you a lot of questions. So you have to be really patient with them, and that sales cycle is not gonna be as quickly as it happens in Dubai. Also, influencer marketing. I've had conversations with companies which are trying to break into Africa and utilizing, influencer marketing. Which influencer are you going to use? One particular organization was using a lot of Nigerian influencers for Pan-African, for Pan-African activations. And when we got started having conversations, we were like, this guy is really popular in Nigeria, but in Kenya here, he's not so relevant. Okay. And even the relevance of various influencer marketers is segmented, very highly segmented. And so if you're looking for that one influencer who then fits everybody, that can be sometimes a bit difficult. And so if you don't understand that culture, it's gonna be hard. Advertising, even down to how you dress when you're going to see clients, gifting, and all those kind of things. So culture is it's one of those things that you don't really, no one really talks about it, because when you're thinking of a new market, you're thinking, what's purchasing power, what's the demand, logistics. How am I? In fact, a lot of people, when I start conversations with people who are trying to break into new markets, most of them are just usually like, hey, here's my catalog of products, just get me clients. Okay. Which is a bit tough, because first of all, I'm like, what's your brand? Is this brand relevant to the Kenyan market, to the Nigerian market, to whatever market we're talking about? Okay, what's your entry? How are you coming in? What's your market entry strategy? A lot of people, those are some of the things that a lot of guys don't think about, but then they end up, really messing you up, because all of a sudden you come in, you even do a big activation, a big market entry, and then all of a sudden you're facing a lot of challenges, you're facing a lot of obstacles, and then you're wondering what's happening. I thought I had this right, I thought I did my research right. And so it's really, really important for you to always look at those cultural barriers of entry. And of course, today I have an amazing panel that's going to go into that, and also look at how creative sector can really help you bridge. Creative sector is one of those things that just crosses barriers very easily. It's like music. Okay, right now everybody loves Burna Boy. Okay, everybody loves Burna Boy. African fashion is really, African culture generally is really on the up and up, and so it's much easier for someone to accept, say, a song. Someone would love a song by Burna Boy faster than they will love, say, coffee from or products from Nigeria. Okay, and so culture, creative sector is one of those areas that can really bridge those cultural barriers, and can really help you break. Whether you're talking of media and communication, like this, for example, this webinar, I'm going to be joined by someone from someone from Dubai, and a native from Dubai, born and bred in Dubai, comes from that culture. I'm going to be joined by someone from Zimbabwe, who is in fashion, Fando, and I'm also going to be joined by Joseph Wazan, who's from the UK. And so we'll be able to get different perspectives, different angles, and all these angles sort of help you to shape your strategy as you're thinking of breaking. And another key area is also corporate culture, because corporate culture is very different, especially if you're in B2B. You really need to understand, how are decisions made in the country that you're getting into. If you're from the UAE coming into Africa, how are those decisions made? When people are having conversations about the businesses and B2B, especially B2B conversations in organizations. How are those decisions made? Who introduces the topic, or who introduces your product to the company, and how does those conversations then affect the final decision of, yes, let's go with this particular person, or no, we're not going in this particular direction. So it's really, really important for you to understand all these things. And of course, right now I'm gonna bring in Talib to the stage. Hi, Talib. Okay. Sorry, I think Talib just went off. So Talib is going to be joining us in a few um, to tell us more about the Emirati culture. And actually, it's a very, very unique opportunity that we're going to give all of you because a lot of people, of course, yes, Dubai is in the UAE, as the name suggests. Um, but it's very rare to actually find an actual Emirati because they're actually less than 10% of the population. So today we actually get to talk to Talib, who is an Emirati and who will give us that intensive background of the culture there, and the culture as it has evolved, as we've had many more people joining in. Hi, Talib.
Hello there. How are you? Good evening, I mean.
Hi. Good evening. Good evening. Hi. So just introduce yourself. Um, you know, elevator pitch. Here's your chance. Go.
Good. Elevator page. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. So, my name is Talib Hashim. I'm a Dubai born and raised, educated entrepreneur. And for the past 17 years, what I've been doing is I've been helping people and businesses find ways to grow successful here in the UAE and in the region. Um, the way I do it is I am the managing director of a localization consultancy firm called TBH, and we help people either find their way either through talent solutions or business solutions. And I'm also a founder of a community platform called Mailist.com, which aims to build bridges between local and international professionals. So that's my elevator pitch.
So tell me, you've been born and bred in Dubai. Um, give us a, a snapshot of how has Dubai evolved over the last couple of years.
I tell people this is something fascinating I tell people about, and they don't realize, right? We had to move, we really had to move fast. Today in Dubai, we are talking about having a metaverse strategy. And the metaverse strategy is all about creating, so for example, the metaverse strategy, creating 40,000 jobs in the metaverse. We have an AI strategy. We have a minister of AI. We have a creative economy strategy. um, the non-oil contribution to the economy has increased significantly. We're looking at becoming a technology hub, and also a hub for fintech. However, 40 to 50 years ago, if you ask me what were the two biggest challenges the UAE was struggling with, and when we were growing up, we used to study about these challenges in school when we were kids. Those two things: illiteracy and desertification. Those were the biggest challenges that Dubai and the UAE was concerned about. Illiteracy, back in the 1960s, almost 50%, at least 50% of the population were illiterate. We're talking about literacy. So that was a huge problem. And it was a higher number when it came to women. So we had around 70% of women who were also illiterate. That was a challenge. And desertification was about the crawling of deserts into the urban areas. Those were two challenges. Today, illiteracy in the UAE has been redefined. If you don't know how to use your smartphone, then you're illiterate, right? That is the definition according to the Prime Minister of the UAE. So we've come a long way from struggling with those two things, where other economies had an educational base. Today we have a strong educational base with the university cities and some of the top universities, local and international. At that time, those economies had those established. We didn't have that. And that is why, if you want to put things in perspective, you have to think, how fast have we come here to having these conversations about being one of the top most competitive economies in the world?
Interesting, interesting. And maybe also to touch on that, what do you think is embedded in the, because I know the Emirati culture is really welcoming and really open for a country. To be honest, if you hear a lot of the discourse, even locally, to be honest, in some of our African countries, most people want, to dominate their area of origin. Okay. You'll find even here in Africa, I can't go buy land just anywhere, even in Kenya, to be honest,
Yeah.
because everyone will be like, you don't come from here. Why exactly are you investing here? But the Emirati culture is so open to, everybody. And it's like you actually welcome people to the point of you feel more like a citizen, even if you're not a citizen. You
Yeah.
feel so
Yeah.
welcome that you actually feel at home there,
Yeah.
and all your ideas, there's opportunities for anybody with ideas can come in and really flourish. So give us a sense, because when I talk sometimes to people who are not very familiar with the UAE, and particularly the Dubai element of being welcoming, people look at UAE from the Arabic, people think it's another Middle East country. It's a very biased way of perceiving it, but
Yeah.
people don't understand how open the Emirati culture is. And so tell us, why are you guys so open, and why are you guys so welcoming?
All right. So first of all, the analogy I give people is, when people talk about the UAE being a melting pot, it's not a melting pot. Think of it this way: the UAE is not a a vegetable soup. So a vegetable soup, you have all different vegetables, and then you don't taste any particular piece of vegetable. It's just vegetable soup. What the UAE is, it's a fruit salad. You have different cultures, and these cultures act as a mosaic, but the distinctive idea is fruit salad is a fruit salad. So I draw those analogies because what people need to be aware of, while we have 200 different nationalities, and every nationality brings their cultural background and their influence, but then at the same time, the local community, who are the minority, they're 10% of the population, their culture matters. Why are they welcoming? They are welcoming because it's part of their value system. But also, that welcoming is not without condition, right? That welcoming is not without, it's not just a free ticket to come in and do whatever. What locals are keen about and what concerns them is the fact that one will keep the security, stability, and safety of the country. That is number one. So welcoming, opening up the country to the world should not compromise that. Number two, cohesiveness of society. So a small conservative society, and what they don't want to do is is not to endanger that cohesivity of that society. Number three, the ability of contributing to the society and economy. So by welcoming different nationalities, what they expect are these nationalities and these cultures to contribute positively and add value to the different industries and society. And finally, be able to also enable locals, because locals, you have either they're business people who want to do business, or employees who are looking for jobs or are employed, or you have young people who want to enter the market. So what they do not want is this openness to compromise on the businessman being able to do his business and to be empowered to do business in a competitive landscape, and for the employee, for the local employee, not to be lost out, not to be sidelined in the corporate world or the job market, and for the job seeker to have a chance, because we're one of the top. We are the number one destination for Arab youth in the Middle East. Globally, we are one of the top talent magnets. So that creates competition. So we are welcoming. It's part of the hospitality. It's part of the value system, but it's not without preconditions that are not said normally officially, but are implied.
Great, great, great. And I think that's why you come in, and especially as an expert who helps with that kind of localization. And so maybe give me some top five things that I'm sure you've engaged. And I mean this population is we're mostly talking to Africans. So, in your
Yeah.
experience, what are the five tips that you would give to African companies who are coming into Dubai and also coming to the UAE, especially that element of being respectful to the culture?
Yes. So we start with what you just said, being respectful and mindful of the culture. Any economy today, because the conversation is about the African and African society, it's about being mindful and aware of the not only the laws of the land, but the culture. The UAE, the UAE in Africa are no strangers to um, working together and also having ties. And it's a lot of these ties are not only built on trade and commerce; they're also built on relationships. Their linkages, family linkages between this region and also Africa. So there is that familiarity, right? So people need to be mindful when they're coming to the UAE. They don't look at the UAE as what they see on YouTube or on social media, the glitz and glamour, and all of that. They need to make an effort to understand what is the local culture, what do people value over here, and then be mindful of it. Number one. Number two, more than being mindful, I would suggest people to take a more proactive approach towards looking at embracing it, whether it is connecting with locals. Yes, I know we are probably 10% of the population of the country, but there are locals out there in different industries. So making a point to reach out to them, connect with them. And that connection has to be sincere. That brings me to tip number three. What is very important here, the local community, is familiarity and trust and honesty. These are very important. When I talk about familiarity, because the structure of the society is family and tribal, people know each other. People can identify with each other through either first name basis or last name and tribe basis, or people they know, and even from location. But when you're coming from outside, uh, the locals don't know who you are and what is your background, what kind of cultural background do you bring. Can we trust you? Can we not? So it takes time to build and nurture that trust. So people need to understand that it's important to invest time to nurture relationship, because what you want to do is build familiarity through credibility, trust, and also be sincere. People are interested in sincerity. Every sincerity um, of interactions, sincerity of dealing is very important. Those are things that you need to think of. Then, tip number four, I think we're in tip number four, understand the market. A lot of people we come and deal with have a product which they think works really well in their economy or in their industry back in their country, or maybe have scaled into Europe and it's worked well, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it would work here in this economy or in this market. This is a cosmopolitan market. You have different influences. That is, these influences are driven by culture, by nationality, by background. So take time to really understand if there is really a need for the product that you have in its current shape, and be proactive in terms of taking feedback and adapting. Finally, what I tell people is it's important to really understand where's the government headed to, what is the government's direction. And it's here in the UAE, I think we're fortunate that it's clearer, because what the UAE has done, it has a strategy, an official strategy for almost every other thing. You have the industrial strategy, you have the future foresight strategy, the knowledge economy strategy, creative economy strategy, AI strategy, even the fashion strategy. So we even have a strategy for a mission to Mars. So there are strategies. Now, these strategies are not just documents. This strategy is all about a roadmap in which the government highlights the priorities, the KPIs, and also you have the stakeholders, whether private and government sector stakeholders who will be involved in making the strategy work. Why is it important for you? Because it gives you a sense of where the government is going, where is the next market for you, and who are the stakeholders you need to speak with. So those are some of the strategies to sum up that we always advise business people to do.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So, and because today we're talking about the creative economy particularly, maybe you
Yeah.
can delve just a little bit about I mean, to your knowledge, of course, about the creative economy strategy that the government down there has and the leadership there is trying to push, so that guys out here can know what opportunities are there for them.
Great, great. Okay, so very interesting. Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm a bit familiar with the creative economy for two reasons. One, again, it's one of those strategies that we talk about when we run our advisory sessions for investors and businesses looking to access the market, or the workshops that we run. So we run workshops for delegation and businesses, and we talk to them about the different strategies the government runs. But there's another reason a lot of people are not sure is I am also in the creative sector. I'm a partner in a film production company, a new one that launched last year, but it's a very interesting one. It's a film production backed by blockchain. So a bit complex stuff over there. But what I know about the creative economy is the UAE, Dubai has its own creative economy strategy, and the UAE has a national creative economy strategy. And these strategy are about, if we go back, and my memory takes me back to 2014, where I was one of the people who was called in by the government to work together and brainstorm what is Dubai's strategic plan for 2021. So we're in a room, different government entities. I was one of two representing the private sector. And in the pillars of the Dubai Strategic Plan 2021 was one of the pillars was happy, creative, and empowered people. And in there, we're looking at how can we increase contribution of the creative economy, and Dubai becomes a hub for creators here in the country. And one of the things I remember is how can we turn the city of Dubai into an art canvas? That was literally what we're talking about. So how can we foster art and artists, turn it into art canvas in terms of physical structure and even in terms of activation and events. Fast forward today, we have a few results or outcomes of that strategic plan. Dubai Design District was one of the outcomes, and one of them is Dubai's creative economy. Now, the Dubai creative economy is about how can Dubai increase the contribution of creative industries to the GDP. So they were talking about doubling the contribution of the creative economies into the GDP by next year, 2025. And the other thing was doubling the number of companies. I think we have around 8,000 companies in the registered as uh, part of the creative industries. What Dubai is looking at doing is doubling that to 15,000 companies, and then looking at other initiative legislations. Today, as a creator, you have access. You can qualify to have a golden visa. You can access incubators, accelerators, and so forth. So there is a strategy, and there are stakeholders who are accountable or responsible to make the strategy work. The stakeholders are government mainly, and also semi-government.
Awesome, awesome. I think that's a conversation that we probably need to really dive deep into at another point. We don't have the time for it right now, but I think that's a really important point, because one of the areas I've been really felt really needs a lot of investment, especially in Africa, is in terms of creative economy. Because the creative, we have amazing fashion designers, whether you're talking of technology, whether you're talking of music. Every single day, I'm just meeting so much talent, so much creativity. And whatever we are seeing in terms of some of the top guys, the the Ira Stars, the Davidos. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of, the amount of talent that we have in Africa. And so it will be interesting to see then what are those opportunities in the creative economy strategy, and how then can creative sector players in Africa really position themselves for that. So I think that's a whole other can of worms that we need to open
Yeah,
at some
yeah,
point.
yeah.
So Talib, I mean, thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this conversation for almost more than a year, because ever since we met in Dubai, I was like, this is a conversation that really needs to be had. And
Yes.
definitely, this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for your time, and definitely we shall be talking. Maybe before you leave, tell us how can people get in touch with you.
Great, great, great. No, thank you very much. There's definitely more conversations that needs to be made, and also initiatives that we have to take together as people from the UAE and also people from Africa. And it's happening. I was to say, I'm glad that it's happening. We see it on the ground. How can people reach me? So you can reach me. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn as Talib Hashim, the way it's written there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can also reach out to me on my email, which is talib@talibbinhashim.com. And that's my website as well, talibbinhashim.com. You can reach out to me. Or, if you want to get to know the real me, well, I'm on Instagram as well as the real Talib. So I post a lot about a lot of the topics we talk about here. So you can find me also on Instagram as at the real Talib. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bunny, for having me here. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. So that was Talib Hashim. A very rare opportunity for you to actually engage with an actual Emirati and really get those nuances of the culture down there, of and the value process and the value systems of the people on ground. Because a lot of times I don't think we really get to see that part, because we think of Dubai as the flashy, the big buildings, beautiful cars, that kind of a thing. But we don't really get to engage with the Emirati culture. And of course, if you're doing business there, you really need to invest time. And just like Talib was saying, you need to invest time to really get to understand the people who are originally from there, and understand what's the value system, because that will really inform um, your engagement with them, and especially if you're talking of engagement with the government. So I'm gonna invite my next guest, Sando. Hi, Sando.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
Am I pronouncing that name right?
No, it's Tando. It's
Tando.
Tando. The H is silent. Yeah.
Tando. Hey,
Good to see you.
yeah, it's a cultural barriers of entry right there.
Cultural barriers, my
You need to learn how to pronounce people's names. But yeah, African names can be quite a tongue twister, even for us in
Yes,
Africa.
that is true. That is true. We are still one people,
So
right? Languages.
there you go. So Tando, maybe start by introducing yourself, who you are,
Sure.
what you do, talk, and also tell us more about your platform.
Yes, thanks, Bonnie. First of all, thank you to you and UAE Africa Networking Group for having us on board today. Such an important conversation. Basically, my name is Tandoma Gumise. I am Zimbabwean born. I have lived in Dubai for the last 12 years. It's been an absolutely amazing ride as an entrepreneur, being part of such a forward thinking economy. Essentially, I am one of the co founders for Africa Fashion Week Middle East, which is a platform that we specifically built to allow African designers to not only tell stories their own way through their pieces and through their presentations and collections, but it was also a platform that we built to bridge the gap between the creative economies of the continent, the African continent, and the UAE specifically. And obviously, through the UAE, Dubai being a hub for trade globally, we do find that it is easier to then break out into the global market from a market such as the Dubai market. So essentially, the team comprises of a total of 5 ladies, very dynamic group of ladies, very exceptional in their own ways in terms of the fashion industry itself. And we had the pleasure of having yourself, Bonnie, and other people at our first runway that we showcased in March last year. A very proud moment for us, of course, because we managed to pull off a world-class event. It's exactly a year ago, and we're currently working on the next sessions of the Africa Fashion Week for this year. And essentially, our role in this market is to not only assist designers to showcase their work, but to really look at it from a business perspective and see how designers can plant themselves in this economy and go global after they've done that.
Awesome. And also talk about your fashion line, your fashion house.
Yes.
What's the inspiration? What drives you? How would you describe your sense of style?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I just came from a typically formal meeting. Usually, I'm a bit brighter than I look today, typical designer. But basically, the brand name is Ndombi Couture. Ndombi meaning lady in my language, in the Ndebele language, which is very similar to the Zulu language in South Africa. And essentially, the brand was inspired by the women of Africa. I started the brand 10 and a half years ago now, in Dubai. One of the many things I love about this place is that, it doesn't really matter where you come from. You can actually start a business, a lucrative business, and be successful in this market. And essentially, when we started the brand, it was at a time where African prints were not really as accessible in this market. And we saw a gap basically, and started the business very simply, wore my own stuff as I went out. I'm a very sociable person, and with time people started purchasing our pieces, and the brand itself has grown to great heights. Now we've had the pleasure of planting a store in South Africa in the last 8 months. We opened it up in August last year. And we're basically seeing the brand growing from strength to strength. Essentially, we try to make sure that the ethos of the African continent goes through our pieces. It's something that we've really had to work on in terms of how recognizable our brand is, how strong it is when people see it, something that they buy into. It's a very classic, clean line brand. And we've really found our own market and our own gap in the market. However, the essence of the spirit of Africa rather, completely runs through this brand. We now have an offering for men's designs as well. We do bespoke and ready-to-wear garments. And also we've really, Talib touched on this earlier, we've really managed to find our way in a market that wasn't an African market to start off with, and found our way to make an offering that, even though we are an African brand, we do accommodate for everyone, whether they're African or not. And we have found a way of really adjusting our offering to suit this market. And then when we are in the African market, we've found a way of our offering being applicable to the African market as well. So in terms of the global market, we've really had to push the brand in order for it to accommodate not only Africans, but everyone as a whole.
Awesome. Now, as we're talking of using creative sector as a bridge, you've been on both sides. Right now, you run, a premier, the only Africa Fashion Week in Middle East, really. Yeah. You have those conversations with your sponsors. You've worked on the other side where you're also talking to sponsors. The reason why we're doing this is because I believe one of the key points, one of the key selling points for creative sector as a marketing tool is because we can act as a bridge to some of those cultural barriers that businesses usually face when trying to break into new markets. Right now, Africa Fashion Week, Middle East, you are a bridge really for companies in Dubai and in the UAE who are really trying to break into the African market. So tell us, how do you play your role as the bridge, and what kind of conversations do you have with your partners, and how can you help others who are trying to sort of act towards a bridge in the same sense?
Yes, that's a good question. So essentially, Africa Fashion Week, we do have your typical Fashion Week runways where your designers can come in, showcase their product, and it depends on what the designer's objective is really. So if your objective is mostly brand awareness and you just want to showcase for that week and then go home and kind of build off of that, we do provide for that. However, we also do have really strong relationships with the bigger brands in terms of buyers. So essentially, if the designer wants to take it a step further and not just only showcase, but be able to come into the market with their product, we then align those relationships and guide them in terms of how to present their brand, how to make it applicable to the market. We do try and advise designers before coming into this market as well to do their research in terms of what would work for the audience in this market and adjust their products accordingly, not necessarily lose what the brand stands for, the aesthetic or the ethos of the brand, but to be able to adapt that to a market. That is very important because at the end of the day, designers are business people and they want to sell. And in order to sell, you need to be able to apply yourself accordingly to what the market preferences are. In terms of the challenges I usually see that designers have, and being a designer myself, I'm very empathetic towards that, is the access to financing. And having been on the other side of sponsorships as well, there is a clear understanding of what sponsors look for. And part of that is once you get to a market like the UAE and you've showcased your product, how are you able to scale this product? Are you able to scale this product? And is there an understanding of that? So, for example, if a big group like the Shaloub group comes into play at Fashion Week, they absolutely love your designs. You have to be able to go beyond a beautiful product. The beauty of the product will be, there's no dispute there. However, if they want you to supply 5,000 pieces of that one product across the GCC, because you do find that Dubai is central of the GCC region, but then you do find a lot of stores are available not just in Dubai, they'll be available in Bahrain and in Kuwait and in Egypt and in Lebanon, etc. Are you as a fashion brand able to produce to that capacity? And if it does sell out, for example, do you have the capacity to supply for that on an ongoing basis for that season? Or if it doesn't sell out, are you able to recoup those costs when they send it back to you? So, for example, you might find that some brands will say, or some groups will say they will take it, they'll buy it off of you in wholesale. That is an ideal situation. However, you might find that they might say it's only on consignment. So as a designer, you've put in all of that money. Are you able to recoup that? Have you planned for all of these possibilities? And that's where the business side of things comes in, where it doesn't only apply to the fashion world. We're creatives. Are we really looking into the business side of things and understanding it in a way that will benefit us going forward and not really negatively affect your bottom line? So essentially, that's where Fashion Week does come in terms of advising that, because we definitely want to make sure that our designers, when they come, they actually win. It's not just about showcasing a beautiful product and going back home and everyone forgets about the brand.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Yes, and I mean, it's a conversation we've always obviously had of just having those conversations about how can we maximize, because you see, as a creative sector, actually, we are two things. It's a marketing tool, but it's also a product in and of itself. Because if you think of fashion can be used in the capacity of a marketing tool, and that's where the sponsorship comes in. But fashion is a product in and of itself. And so the interesting thing is seeing then how do you balance those two, and how do you create then opportunities for yourself in those two areas. So
Indeed.
Tando, have I gotten it right now? Tando, right?
Almost there, Bonnie.
Almost
Tando.
there. The second name, I don't know if I'll be able to try it out. Magu.
Oh, my second, Magumise.
Magumise.
Yes.
It's about the intonation. Magumise. Tando.
Absolutely.
Magumise. Important point, by the way, for and especially when you have, because this is not just for Africa to UAE, but this is also for Pan African business. When you're
Absolutely.
doing Pan African business, you really need to understand how different markets operate. And maybe before I let you go, for my Pan African audience, maybe you can help because in Dubai, I'm sure you've engaged and interacted with people from different African countries. Um,
Yes.
what would you say are the major differences between now? I know we have 54 countries, 3,000 tribes, so there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So, but let's just say, what would you say are the major cultural differences between Eastern, Southern African, and Western African, and North African?
Interestingly, as the longer I've been here, I've actually found that there are more similarities than differences. Of course, there comes in where we have our language differences in terms of our belief systems, etc. However, I think where it boils down to the most, because I really love how Talib explained Dubai as a salad, because essentially you're part of a bigger picture, although you still have your individuality, right? And I think that's where
Mm,
I have found that we've been able to actually be more successful as Africans in this region just because of our similarities. Those allow for easier collaborations. This
mm,
brand itself, my business itself, wouldn't have grown without collaboration from different African nationalities. And a lot of them have been mostly Southern African, East African, and North African, West African too. As you know, this area has very close knit trade alliances with both the Northeast and the West as well, which is amazing. So you do find that you do meet a lot of people that really hold the same love and patriotism for the continent. And I think that's been something that's actually really bonded us together. It's interesting, once you leave the continent, you become the biggest patriot of all because you
mm.
really realize what it is you
Exactly.
have. You appreciate what it is that you have. You once you leave your country, you actually are put in a situation where you really start asking yourself questions about your identity. What makes you who you are? When I say I'm Zimbabwean, what does that mean? And then what then happens is that within a brand like ourselves, you realize that when you're outside, you're more than just a Zimbabwean. You're a Pan-African citizen, and with that comes in
Mm,
how we do our work. So, for example, we've
mm,
collaborated with amazing brands like the UAE Africa Networking Group, like the Kiza brand, like the All Africa Festival, and that all of us are from different areas of Africa, completely different areas. However, I do think um, I've mostly focused on the fact that we're actually more similar than different. Besides the fact that we geographically come from a different part of the continent, I do think our values, what it is that we stand for, the magic term Ubuntu, that all runs through all of us as Africans.
mm. Yeah, there you go. And just look at the comments. Malakia, the making of a queen, is saying someone needs a class on accents. LOL. Twasif Azad is saying hello from Bangladesh. Thank you very much. Malakia is also saying yes, please. That needs a whole webinar. I think he's talking about the creative economy strategy.
Mm.
That's a whole other conversation that definitely we need to have. Tasvia M. Salim is saying greetings. Yvonne Rivers is saying hello from Washington, D.C. So, yeah, quite the global audience out there. So, thank you very much, Stando.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
we will definitely continue this conversation. And yes, I'm definitely looking to be on the runway at your next edition. Um,
Yeah,
you
we look
guys
forward
had
to having you on
amazing.
again.
You guys had amazing, designs on display. And for me, what was really powerful, and we had that conversation with William, is that I'm an African who traveled all the way to Dubai to go sit and watch African fashion excellence on display. For me, that was just, it was quite a trip for me. And it was just showing you how global our creative economy is going. And really kudos to you guys. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, guys really need to sign up. All the African designers were thinking of really taking your designs and taking your business global. These are platforms that you really need to check out. So yeah, so thank you very much, Nando. We will definitely be continuing this conversation.
Thank you. And just to add, if anyone wants to find us on Instagram, we are AFW Middle East. AFW Middle East.
Awesome, awesome. And for your fashion house.
It's in Ndombi Couture, which is NTOMBI Couture. Ndombi Couture.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Wally.
much.
This was
So that was Tando Magumise. I think I've still trying to get it right. Up next, we are gonna have now we've been talking all along about finances, and one area that a lot of creatives struggle with. I mean, the ideas that they are scalability, and the beauty about, I always say, the beauty about the creative sector, it's your talent. You get, you're not going to dig gold, you're not going to farm for coffee or farm for avocados, literally. It's your talent, it's your natural ability, it's something that is so natural to you. All you have to do is just package it and find a way to put it out there. But I know a lot of people get challenges in terms of funding, and in terms of getting the facilitation to help you get to the next level. And I'm joined now by Joseph Wazan. Hi, Joseph.
Hi, can you hear me? Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Joseph. How are you?
Waiting. I'm good. Waiting now. It's been about an hour waiting to join you. Very interesting people, particularly
How's the
I'm
conversation? Oh, for those who are joining us on the live stream, our system is such that we have a backstage where we welcome we welcome our guests before they come on to stage. Unfortunately, there is no tea in Kenyan culture. Whenever you're waiting, we give you some tea. Now there's no tea in the backstage.
no, but I was having my cup of tea. Cheers.
Ah, you have your cup of tea there. Excellent. So, Joseph, give us a quick introduction of yourself, what you do, and yeah, kick us off.
Um, what I do for the last few years is project finance. I'm a project finance specialist. If you want to learn more about the, the areas of focus in terms of fundraising, my website is jwassociatesglobal.com. JW because it's my initials, associate. I work with funders across the globe, and global because I'm a global business, and that's me. In terms of creative fundraising, over the years, I'm 66 years of age. Obviously, I have a career of over 30 years. Uh, I have been involved in raising finance for creative businesses as an employee and as an advisor, independent advisor. I work for KPMG Corporate Finance in London. I worked for EY. I qualified with EY. I'm a chartered accountant. And for the last 15 years, I've been stationed here in Dubai.
Awesome. I mean, obviously, we are joined by people from multiple sectors, but since today we are focusing more on the creative sector, what are those things that, and are we talking VC? Are we talking angel investor? What type of investor typically invests in creative sector?
Well, as you know, with creative, it starts with the people themselves are creative and they have their own funds. They borrow money from friends, relatives, and until they reach a stage where they perhaps can go to access money with business through business angels, and beyond that, you can apply for venture capital, and beyond that, you go for private equity, depending on the stage where the business is at. But the principles of fundraising, they are the same whether you are approaching a business angel or you are approaching a private equity. You, as a business, um, you have to have the key elements in place for you to attract capital. So, for example, if you are applying to a business angels, they look for opportunities where they can have quantum leap in their return with a quick exit often, and they would like to give contribution to the business through their expertise. Um, so, in terms of pitching to such people, um, you need to, I call it the three horse run, meaning if any business, any project where you have three things in place where you can score, say, 8 out of 10 in each of these three horses, then you have a winning project that will attract capital, irrespective whether you are applying to a business angel or venture capital. And these three things are: one, product or service with very unique selling points. You've got to really differentiate yourself from the competition. What makes you unique? So that's the first horse. The second horse is a clearly identified market gap that your product or service is seeking to fill, and the right strategy to close that gap, to exploit that gap. And the third one, the right people with the right mix of skill, experience, and chemistry to make it happen. Now, over the years, I receive clients, you'll find there's gaps in each of these horses. So before you go for funding, the advice I can give to the listeners who are looking to access finance: prepare yourself before you go. Don't go prematurely to the marketplace. You look objectively at each of these horses. Have I got sufficient unique selling points in my product and service that will enable me to penetrate the market I'm seeking to penetrate? And you need to work on that. With regards to the market, do I have a clear market position? Do I have a competitive edge? Do I have the right strategy to go to that market? And in terms of people, you'll find many times the inventors, they like to be in control. They are not willing to work as parts of a team with all the other disciplines. For a business to be successful, you need the financial function, you need the administration function, you need the creative function. And if we are producing a product, you need also to have the production function. And not only you have to have the master team, they need to be able to work together to achieve the objectives of the business plan.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Great 3 points. So one, have a unique product. Two, have a clear market and a very clear market entry. And three, have the right team. Build your dream team. Now let's look at it also from the investor perspective. We have in the creative sector, we're talking music, we're talking influencer marketing, and especially influencers. We're talking fashion, we're talking tech. Right now, African creative products are really on the rise. Whether you're talking of movies or you're talking of music, really, it's a good time to be a Kenya and African creative. What then are the opportunities for the venture capitalists and even for the angel investors who are looking, for a space which, because I mean, I firmly believe that creative sector is one of those areas that is easy to accelerate because you're not dealing of it's not heavy logistics of producing a product, then taking it to market. You don't have a lot of barriers of entry. Also, you don't have a lot of logistics to think about. It's literally a creative, and especially these days with technology, someone is seated in their room with a phone. They do a song, it goes crazy on TikTok, and scalability is much easier than it used to be. In fact, a lot of the record labels are having to really adjust themselves because the barriers of entry have really been removed. So, thinking from an investor perspective, where do you see the opportunity in investing in creative sector?
Uh, those who are investing in creative sectors, if you're talking about business angels, obviously they invest in the areas where they understand. If it's a fashion business, they have to have a background in business and have some money that they would like to invest. And they look for the opportunities with these three elements that I'm talking about so that they can deliver the exceptional returns they are looking for, you know? So, and it tends to be obviously very much localized if it is local business. Like say, if you are in Kenya, you will the music or the fashion or other forms of creativity, they will attract business angels from the local market. It's only when there is this say global impact where you can interest global players. You know, it's all about the potential of these opportunities. Can you see uh, with your money and expertise, can you take a project from where it is to becoming an icon, if you like, you know? And it's very, very challenging, I should say. It's very difficult for people in
Mm,
Africa to really access capital, particularly at the early stages um, in their journey. It's very, very hard to identify the right investors. Many times there are no networking kind of platforms for the small micro businesses or even small size businesses. It's really very, very challenging to find the right investors uh, to back it. And so there needs to be a lot of research to identify those investors and then the right strategy to target those investors. Because people who are looking for investment, they know what they're looking for and they are very particular. So therefore, any pitch you are presented to them has to be focused, targeted, attractive, and that will attract their interest and hopefully command their action and for them to put their money.
mm. Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, we have been even at Mawaida, we have been involved in those kind of pitching sessions, and we've had clients and pitched and helped them pitch and actually secure funding. And I do agree with you, especially in terms of putting themselves together, thinking of themselves as a business, because a lot of creatives are very passionate about what they do, and they're very creative, and sometimes they're more focused on that and not thinking of themselves as a product. Okay, just like you're saying, what's your unique selling point? um what's your market entry strategy? um Putting the team together, okay, and making sure that you put a team together that is experienced and can cover all areas from accounting to logistics to the technical elements, if it is now in terms of in the supply chain, especially if you're dealing with the fashion space. There's the there's a supply chain, which in terms of music, creating a very professional management team that then an investor coming in can look at, like, yeah, this guy has the right team that's going to take them from zero to hero, basically. So, Joseph, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and thank you for your patience in the backstage.
No, that's fine. But one piece of advice I can give to those who are trying to access capital in
Yes.
Dubai, honestly, having listened to Mr. Talib Hashim, talk to him.
Mm,
Seriously, I don't know the gentleman. I listened carefully to him. He knows the market in Dubai, and there are many specialist funders who are looking, in the creative market. There are family offices, the business angels. There are government-backed, uh, even grants. With the Crown Prince, we have innovation grants. We have Emirates Financial Towers, in Gates Avenue. As Mr. Talib said, um, as Dubai as an emirate and the UAE as a country were very, very focused on the, let's call it, the creative and advanced technologies as well, like AI. We have a ministry called the Ministry of the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, okay, led by Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, one of the leading men in the country, trying to develop let's call it, knowledge-based economy. Okay, so obviously he seems to have his finger on the pulse with his knowledge of the market and his homegrown. I'm not trying to market him. I'm just saying, having listened to him,
Yes.
really, any of the audience listening, and if they have a funding need and they want to station themselves here in the UAE, I think they will do well to speak to Talib.
To Talib, yeah, exactly. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, Talib is such a resource. That's why we had to have him here because he also really
Yeah. The other thing I would like to say is that I am happy to lend my time purely pro bono for any of these, of anybody in the audience who is creative, has creative ideas. I'm happy to give them my two pennies worth. Uh, they can call me, they can email me. My email is joseph at jwassociatesglobal.com, and my telephone number is plus 971 5858 47076. And my offer is very genuine. I've done this over the years. My own son is creative. He's a DJ in the UK.
oh wow.
He's got a platform to help DJs how to improve their skills using all kinds of software as training, So
Mm.
I have a passion to help these creative people. So
Mm.
I'm not expecting anything in return or charging them fees. Just let them, anyone listening with a need to raise finance, happy to talk to them.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Joseph, for your time. That was just awesome, awesome, awesome. And definitely we'll be picking up more of these conversations moving forward and just creating also platforms where we really help our creatives, just like you're saying, put together their pitches because I believe there are many good ideas which are deserving of funding, but they just don't learn how to put together their pitches. And just like you're saying, they just don't learn how to get to the right people who can then help them with the funding. Yeah. So thanks a
Thank you.
lot. Yes, yes. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I said thank you very much for summarizing so succinctly, so concisely what I have shared. You were listening to me.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, guys, that was Joseph Wazard, our financial guru, our financial expert. And, well, this brings us to the end of part two of the Africa UAE Business Summit. Definitely some amazing nuggets that we've brought you, amazing people that we've brought you. And definitely, again, this is just a start, a kickoff. This is just a spark of this conversation that we're starting here. And definitely for us, we are about not and just moving from start, of course, as a conversation, and we'll continue the conversation. But we want to take this just beyond conversations. We want to actually get to a point where we put together projects. We get creatives, put together creatives in groups or whatever, and see how we can actually practically help them get funding. And yeah, let's see how guys can help guys live the dream. So today, I have to give my apologies for William. Unfortunately, William couldn't be with us because he's been feeling a little bit under the weather, and that is why, unfortunately, he couldn't join us for today's session. But nonetheless, we said, you know what, this conversation is so important. We need to carry on. And William, thank you very much. Big kudos to all our sponsors, UAE Africa and the team, UAE Africa Networking Group, and the entire team with William. Thank you very much to Pulse Live Kenya for just taking our message and amplifying it on all your platforms. And a big thank you to the Mawaida Africa group, and the team at Mawaida Africa. Thank you very much. For those who would want to know, Mawaida Africa is a brand marketing, a sales and communication agency. We are a pan-African agency with a global perspective, and that's why we keep bringing you these global conversations. Because guess what, guys? You guys need to take your business to the next level, and that's what we're here for. We are here to take your business to the next horizon and to help you go global. So that's all the time we have. Thank you very much. Next week, join us, same time, same place. We'll be telling you what conversations we're going to be having next week. But definitely, I can assure you it's going to be worth your while and worth your time. And yeah, we're working on a lot of projects, a lot of ground projects that you're working on, and we really look forward to many more exciting announcements coming to the Africa UAE Business Summit. So until next time, this has been your moderator and your host, CEO of Mawaida Africa, Boninyaga. So see you next time.